to everyone, and welcome to the second panel discussion of our Let's Connect the Connectors conference. My name is Anelia Mitrova, and I will be moderating the afternoon session, and I'm part of the Youth Alliance team. So this afternoon session is Civil Society Action, a Pathway to a New Hope. A few hours, I would say, the only hope. But now, after the first panel, I would say that, yes, it's a new hope. And together with the governmental institutions, I hope that we will build a better region and a better bilateral relations. So I will start talking a bit about my experience as a youth worker and as someone who is professionally active in the civil society sector, and plus someone who has a personal attachment to our neighbor or to my lovely Greece, which I'm not able to visit in the past 1 year, and I'm very sad for that. But I hope that with this restriction, the next event when I will be hosting and moderating, we will be all physical, and we will be having the chance to network and to meet and to drink some ouzo, some rakia, and to have fun together, because this is one of the part of building good neighborly relations, especially between the young people. So when I started with the civil society sector, I was 21, and I started as a volunteer in Youth Alliance, and my first project ever was Contacts for the Common Future. I was surprised by the title, and I was surprised why we need to build a good relations with Greece. But however, I have understood that I am maybe living in a bubble, and I don't have any stereotypes for my neighboring country, but my peers in North Macedonia, they do have stereotypes, and the only solution for us to build a good neighborly relation is when the young people are networked, is the young people they know each other, and they are able to discuss and to share their points of views, their vision for the future, and etc. So today with me, I have a very interesting panel with outstanding speakers who I think that will turn on the chat and the Q&A session on fire, because I think that you will have a lot of questions to ask and to address to them. So today with me, I'm having Professor Dr. Veli Krejci, Dr. Ioannis Armakolas, Mr. Ivan Stefanovski, Mr. Fatos Mustafa, and Ms. Anna Vampili. So I will give the titles when I will present each speaker one by one, because believe me, they have a lot of paragraphs below their names. So first, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Veli Krejci for being here with us, and he is the only speaker who is with us physically. Dr. Veli Krejci is a Southeast European University professor and a senior research fellow at Analytica think tank Skopje. I told you it's quite long. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Mr. Krejci, so you have been researching in the past 4 years in cooperation with ELIAMEP and supported by the Swedish embassies on the measurements for building trust and confidence between our two nations. So in your speech, I would like to hear more about these insights and these findings. Also, I would like to see your perspective about the role of the civil society in the building of youth cooperation and engaging of the young people. And also, I would like also to share one personal story that we have met with Veli.
Sure. Yeah,
yeah,
Veli,
it's okay,
it's perfectly fine. Yeah, I was going to say that.
It's quite difficult to say professor, doctor all the time.
No, you shouldn't be saying that.
With the young people, we don't respect a lot of authority.
Okay.
It was very nice to meeting you 1 year ago. I didn't even know that there is, on think tank level, researchers and a lot of publications that are working and researching about our two nations and what are the relations about. And you came to our office, you found us on the website, and it was quite interesting to talk about you and to learn that there is someone who is monitoring us, who is watching us, who is keeping an eye on us, and who will give as a further steps what we should do and how we should act. Yeah. So how with the young people to get closer together?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Anelia, for this very kind introduction. Yes, as I said, I also like to share a very short story about myself. At one point, I was also kind of a trainer for the community youth work program. So I feel always pleasured and excited when I'm together with you guys. It's been a long time, actually. I delivered this training probably 10, 15 years ago, but now I'm in a different position now, and I've been invited as to share the stories of an excellent, I would say, cooperation between Analytica Think Tank and ELIAMAP. We really started out, I know my colleague Yanis is going also to talk about his experience from his perspective, but I think in 2016, when we started out a project that was supported by the Swedish Minister of Foreign Affairs with a strong coordination and support from the Swedish Embassy in Skopje, we really started out by just saying, okay, is there anything for us as a civil society organization, as a think tank, that we can help in strengthening the trust between the two nations, and then also work on confidence building measures, which at that time, and as you all remember, this is the pre-PRESPA agreement time. At that time, there was a document signed between the two countries on confidence building measures. So basically, the civil society, we took an initiative, thanks to the, as I said, the Swedish embassy in Skopje, coordination with them, and then with our colleagues at Analytica, we said, okay, what is out there for us as a civil society that we can work together with an institution, as a think tank, well-known, recognized think tank in Greece, in Athens, to basically give a perspective of cooperation in education and cooperation in culture from the civil society perspective. So our mission at the first stage was to make an assessment where we are in terms of the cooperation with Greece in the areas of what we call the soft areas, without really touching the areas that could have a political implication or anything else. So that step was very small compared to where we are now. So now we are in a different environment with the ELIAMAP, which all of the researchers out there are our friends, and we basically address to each other friends, colleagues that we appreciate our input and it at either both at the professional and then at the people-to-people level. So my message today here to you guys is just contact. And the contact is very important. And the way we do that contact, civil society, it provides you a great opportunity to come up with an ideas that you can contact with a person in Greece, in your neighboring country. Today is Greece. We are talking about Greece. Maybe tomorrow we are going to talk about Bulgaria. So basically, initiate a contact with a colleague of yours. It could be a youth worker that is doing some work in Athens, in Thessaloniki, which are very familiar places to us, for many of you, I guess, because Thessaloniki is one of the favorite destinations that we go there. And basically, with this contact, try to send the information or message to your counterparts out there. Come to Skopje, come to Tetovo, come to Gostivar, see us, meet us, okay? So basically, the first step, sometimes it's not a question of who has to take the step. Basically, it's, do you have an idea of doing something together? Do you have an idea of improving the relations? So with the contact, the original, as you probably know, that the more contact we have, the better we understand each other. So with the contact, we know each other. We understand our anxieties. We understand our prejudices. We understand our stereotypes. So after this contact, there is a, we know each other and we start to communicate further and further. So the point here is just the contact, it needs to be quantitatively as much as possible in order to move from quantity to quality. And the quality is what we achieved from the analytical perspective, from my personal perspective, what we achieved to have a meaningful contact with the colleagues in Athens, with Yanis, Panayotis, Christidis, Mary, Theodoros, and I saw, Nikos. I'm sorry, so there are many other people that we know by name now, and we are we come to that point that now we have a meaningful contact. So it started out in 2016 with a very small step, where we had to produce 2 different reports for the same issue, and it was painful to say the same thing, but in 2 different publications. But this is just the perspective from Macedonia, from North Macedonia, from Skopje. But what we, I think, in these 4 years, what we were able to achieve was the pre-Prespa agreement. We're able to build this trust between 2, at the people-to-people level. Then it went to the institutional level. And now it's more like a very professional level that we basically work together and think about other potential and future projects. So for this, retrospectively, for these 4 years, we have made a tremendous progress in terms of building trust and building healthy relations with the colleagues from ELIAMAP. In terms of the personal story, I mean, one thing that I will never remember is just the first meeting that we held in Thessaloniki. And by the way, this project that we have with ELIAMAP is built in such a way that really promotes the contacts. It promoted the contact in 2016. It's still promoted because every single time we finalize our product, our research, we deliver this in front of the audience, both in Skopje, where our colleagues and friends from ELIAMAP are coming to Skopje, and we are going to Athens, and we're doing the same presentation. So this also gives another level, dimension to our cooperation, where we also have an equal opportunity to say what we think in front of the different audience. And we also provide the same opportunity for the colleagues to say exactly what they think in front of our audience. So basically, this is something that I think it's very important to mention. So coming back to this, the first meeting that we had in Thessaloniki is just we as an analytical team with a coordination meeting. Okay, we are going to meet our colleagues, at that time partners, now our colleagues, partners of ELIAMAP in Thessaloniki. So we have to coordinate. We have to make a plan about the meeting. So there were many unknowns how we are going to proceed. And I remember that we also had third parties people being there to making sure that this meeting will go smoothly, because you never know what to expect. Yeah, we have the project, but we don't know each other. It's the first contact with the colleagues from ELIAMAP, and we're trying to build something that will need to go on and stay further on the agenda. So that was the meeting I will always remember. At the center of the Thessaloniki, I see Yanis, I see Panayotis, I see Christidis. We meet and we say, okay, what's next? We had a plan, but of course you need to build this trust. You need to build this confidence in the beginning. So that's, I think my point is just make the first step, even if it's a small, maybe it's not substantial in the first place, but believe me, the more contact you have, the more better you know each other, the more communication you have, you'll get to know better the other side, and that also will have an impact on how you build further your cooperation. This is my experience with ELIAMAP and with the colleagues, like Yanis is here and other colleagues.
Thank you, Vili, a lot. So I think that it's quite similar what we have done since 2010 and how we have connected to each other. And now we are proceeding to our next speaker, Dr. Ioannis Armakolas, Senior Research Fellow and Head of Southeast Europe Program, ELIAMAP, Europe's Futures Fellow, Institute for Human Sciences, Vienna Assistant Professor, and University of Macedonia. And I would also say a true supporter of the young people and of our initiative as well, and who truly sees the potential of the young people and gives them a chance and a floor they to participate it. So Dr. Armakolas, I would like to give you the floor, but first of all, I would ask you as a key point that I would like you to focus is what we should undertake as a next civil society action to establish our Hellenic North Macedonia Youth Cooperation Office.
Thank you, Anelia. Thank you very much for the invitation. Congratulations on organizing this beautiful event. I'm sorry it's online. I hope next time it will be in person. I'm glad to see my friend Veli. We haven't met in several months because of the pandemic, although we continue working together on the project that he has outlined. So maybe Anelia, taking your question, starting from, well, I will finish with your question by giving maybe some pointers, some lessons learned from the work we have done in recent years for future initiatives, whether they are academic initiatives or civil society initiatives. Let me, Anelia, let me start with a personal story, or rather, somehow to give you a perspective of how I'm connected to the issue over several decades now. And I will explain why this is important, I think. So my students in the audience know, and my colleagues like Veli and others know, that I'm personally connected with the region, with Southeast Europe or the Balkans since the early 1990s. This started in the period of the collapse of Yugoslavia and the Yugoslav wars, but also the Macedonian name dispute, and somehow this has made like a huge impact on my life and at least my career, but not only my career, since I've been working still since then in the Balkans, but also in my personal life, because I have so many friends in all the countries of the region and I visit all the time, and so on and so forth. But the period I remember more vividly from the early 1990s, when it comes to the name dispute and our relations, is more traumatic, I have to say, because back in the early 1990s, it was a much more difficult period in the relations between our two countries. So when I was an undergraduate, like we have many undergraduates in the audience today, we were also preoccupied with the name dispute in the relations between Greece and what we used to call Fyrom back then, or Skopje even, which is not nice. But it was a much more difficult period. I have to say it was a period when a nationalist frenzy war has swept Greece, and it was extremely difficult even not to say that the other side is right, but even to say that we need to find some way to understand the other side, or to find a way to reconcile with the other side, meaning today's North Macedonia. And it was a very difficult period for people who thought differently, students, young people, some intellectuals, very few. It was very few people who dared to speak differently back then. And it was a period that I have to say has kind of stained Greece's image in the Balkans, but also has made a negative impression on many people who have dealt with foreign policy. One of them is me. Now, why I mention this is two reasons, and I think it's very important for our audience to keep in mind. One reason is that 30 years have passed and we still have problems in the region. And this is not only about Greece, North Macedonia, it's about Bulgaria, North Macedonia, it's about Greece, Albania, it's about Croatia, Serbia, it's about Kosovo, Serbia, Bosnia, Serbia, and you name whatever pair you want to find in the region. And the world is changing. Technology is changing our lives. We see images of Mars, but we still in the Balkans are preoccupied with bigger or smaller problems that keep us back and do not allow us to realize the full potential of the region through cooperation and European values. I'm not saying that it's easy to resolve these problems, but I need to say that they are more enduring, more sticking, the problems that we have in the region. And therefore, we need to work harder to overcome these problems and help our societies move forward in a cooperative manner. And this is one reason. 30 years down the road, we still talk about the name problem and how to build relations between two neighboring countries, for God's sake. Of course, we don't have the problem anymore because of the Prespa agreement, but we're still trying to looking for ways to build cooperation between the two countries. And the second reason why I think it's important that I started with this personal connection to the region and the problem is because, as it was in the case back in the early 1990s, so is the case today. Sometimes, or more often than not, I would say, the difficult things are done by a minority of people, by few people, not by the majority or the masses of the people. But they are the difficult things to be done, but they are the right things to be done. And I think history, as we say, will prove these people right. So like back in the 1990s, some people tried to resist nationalism, whether in North Macedonia or in Greece or in Serbia or in Albania, and try to do the right thing by reaching out to the other side, by building bridges, by building trust and reconcile with the neighbors in the Balkans. The same way this needs to be done today, and it will be done by the few people in our audience today, by more people who will be engaged and become active after this event. And they will not be the majority, but they will be doing the right thing. And the majority eventually will follow and will recognize the importance of these pioneers who are building bridges with the other side, doing the unpopular thing rather than doing what is typically the popular thing in the Balkans, just blame the others, scapegoat, say always that we are right and the others are wrong. So these are very important things to keep in mind. The problems in the Balkans are enduring, are difficult, but they keep us back, and we need to work to overcome these problems. And the overcoming of the problems will start by fewer people, not by the majority of the people. And this should be recognized by young people in the civil society. Now, Veli is a good friend. We started as, like he said, as partners. We became colleagues. Now we are friends, I think. Has mentioned our work together. I think he forgot to mention, I think it's important that thanks to this support by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Sweden and the embassy in the two countries, we 2 years ago, we published the first ever report jointly researched and jointly authored and published by two think tanks or two research institutes from Greece and North Macedonia. And I think it was possibly even a historic first step. We even before our partnership with Analytica and Veli and his team, we had done before work with other organizations in North Macedonia, with Kyrillos and Methodius University. Later on, we did work also with Eurothing, and I think Ivan Stefanovsky here will tell us more about this. Over the years, I think more than 10 years, we have done several research projects that I think in our own little world of academics, think tankers, civil society, we have done progress in building trust and building bridges between the two countries. If I can maybe say a few points, Anelia, in response to your question, and maybe as lessons learned from this relationship. I think I have not many points, and I will try to present them very quickly. First point, I think, Anelia, for all involved in cooperation between the two sides or all difficult relations with neighbors, we need to be honest about the problems, and we need to study the problems and build civic activism or even policy making on the basis of research and analysis. This is what we have done. We believe in relations with neighbors and reconciling with neighbors, settling disputes with neighbors, and helping all the countries of the region join the European Union. But we started with opinion polls, and the opinion polls showed that in both countries, so the severity of the problem. We didn't hide the problem under the carpet. We didn't say it's easy to resolve the dispute. Actually, our opinion polls were cited repeatedly by the enemies of relations with North Macedonia, by the enemies in Greece of resolving the dispute, because our opinion polls showed that the public opinion was against resolving the name dispute, and they didn't want to compromise at all. But we didn't want to sanitize the problem, and I think it's not correct to sanitize the situation. We should be very open about the problems that exist. We shouldn't overlook them, but we shouldn't also allow us in civil society, in research, to hamper the efforts to build relations. We should recognize the problems and try to understand the other side, explain the sensitivities and the concerns and the perspectives of the other side to our own audience, whether the civil society, whether the youth, the academia, and so on and so forth. So we are honest. We base our activity and our activism on analysis and research, serious professional analysis and research, and we see the problems, but that should not allow us to stop the effort to understand the other side and come closer to the other side. Second point of, I would say, maybe a lesson learned is professionalism matters, and working on issues that do not divide us or issues that we can agree on before we move to the issues that are more difficult to agree on also matters. It's a very, very simple, very important strategy that you start with the issues that are not a problem and you work on the issues that are not a problem. And I know the two sides, Krusevo, Youth Alliance Krusevo, and the partners in Greece work, for example, on arts. Try to build trust between the two sides, between the two societies, by focusing on the issues that are still, that are not political, that are not sensitive. So it's very easy to find so many common problems and work on them without necessarily dealing with the very complex issues that still exist after the signing of the Prespa agreement. And you are young people, technology is changing our lives, technology is changing society or even the labor market. We have the environmental problems, the green agenda, energy transition, migration, brain drain from the region. Young people, both from Greece and North Macedonia and the rest of the countries of the region, are going to Western Europe. You have other issues, corruption in both countries. You have the importance of meritocracy, especially for young people in order to be able to build their lives. All these are common problems. You can find easily a research or an activist agenda around these issues that will not, these are issues that unite you and unite other countries of the region, and you do not need to stick to the problems that divide. Third point, I think Anelia and Veli mentioned it nicely, and it's very important: build trust. Start by finding the other side, understand the other side. Veli put it very nicely. We started as partners, we became colleagues, now we are friends. This is how trust is built. Trust does not come from the sky. It's built through cooperation and through interaction. As Veli said, you have an idea, you find someone who says this idea on the other side, build a platform together, work on something together. Trust will come. Trust will come. I mean, it's not very difficult. And we don't need to agree on everything, by the way. Even in our own countries, within our own society, within our own nation, we don't agree on everything. There is so much polarization these days in Greece, in the UK, in the US, in every single country, North Macedonia. Why should we agree on everything between Greece and North Macedonia if we don't agree on everything within Greece or within North Macedonia? So we can find ways to work together even on issues that we disagree on. two more points and I close, Anelia, but I think it's important. One point, civil society is very important, and I encourage my students in the audience or other young people in the audience to find ways new ways to work with at the civic sector. But the political context is very important. If these pioneers, like our young people in the audience are pioneers, are to become in the future majority, it will need the political legitimacy. It will need the governments on both sides, the states on both sides, to agree on the agenda. And we have the PRESPA agreement, but we need also the two sides to be fully on board, emotionally on board, in the project of building a partnership between the two countries. And for my country, I think when we say we support the stabilization, democratization, development of the region and the integration of the region to the European Union, we have to put our money where our mouth is. We need to be actively engaging with North Macedonia and the rest of the countries in the region and help them in every possible way and build partnerships with North Macedonia and other countries. And this needs political leadership, political support on the part of the governments. Final point, I think it's very important, and I know this is also very important for the minds and hearts of our friends in North Macedonia. European integration. I think it's what the society of North Macedonia is undergoing at the moment is a new trauma. After being left out of the process of European integration for almost 30 years because of the name dispute, they have done the unthinkable to change the name, and they're still kept out of the process. They're still not allowed to start reforming the country, negotiating to join the European Union. This is a new trauma that will be mark this generation of young people like Anelia or Billion or others. And I think it's very important for everybody in the European Union, for Greece also to support, for Bulgaria also to understand that North Macedonia should start accession negotiations and the entire region should get closer to the European Union. This is the best way to resolve disputes through the European integration process. And this is the best way to stabilize the region and make sure that we will not, 30 years down the road, students of your generation, Anelia, will still be discussing disputes between the various countries in the region. We need European integration. And North Macedonia has done more than enough to start the process of approximating European Union. And with that, I want to close. And I hope maybe in 1 or 2 years from now, we will have another event which will bring also Bulgarian youth, Albanian youth, all in the process of building bridges and building partnerships that will bring the entire Western Balkans in the European fold. Thank you, Anelia.
Thank you, Dr. Armakolas. And I think that with your closing point, it gives a good introduction to our next speaker, Mr. Ivan Stefanovski, Executive Director of Eurothink Center for European Strategies. Ivan, hello, welcome. And I would like, in your speech, you to focus more on your publication and your research about 1 year after PRESPA, from enthusiasm to uncertainty. And I would like also to ask you whether what is the civil society role, according to your opinion, and the think tank also on a think tank level. Are the civil society organization involved in the EU accession processes, because you're monitoring as an organization the EU accession processes of our country? And does the bilateral disputes and bilateral relations affects directly on this process of accession?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Anelia. Thank you very much to the entire team for inviting me to be a speaker today. Greetings to the fellow panelists, as well as to the younger generation in the public. I guess that the girls and guys there are younger than we are probably here at the panel. At least this is what I could see from the several shots from the studio. Thanks to Veli and to Yanis for basically outlining the main contours for today's discussion, and I will try not to be repetitive, although Anelia already gave a relatively good introduction of where I would continue with this debate. First, let me salute this initiative, and I think that it is very important that we have organizations from North Macedonia and Greece cooperating, especially that both sides work more with youth and with youth initiatives. This is extremely important because definitely the future belongs to the young people. So this is a very good initiative. Let me start a bit with the cooperation with ELIAMEP and the drafting of the joint publication, which Veli mentioned they faced multiple challenges writing two separate publications from two angles, from two different viewpoints. Well, imagine the difficulty when you have to provide an objective analysis on a certain very tricky process in one publication. It's even more challenging, and Ioannis knows this very well. Uh, Basically, the cooperation started through a Canadian embassy funded project, and now I'm referring to the Canadian embassy in Belgrade because they're also competent for North Macedonia and Montenegro apart from Serbia. And a big thanks for supporting that research endeavor. It's, as I mentioned, it's very difficult to provide an objective, two-faceted analysis of the implementation of the agreement 1 year after the implementation of the agreement started, and it was very challenging. It was very tough, but it was also very self-fulfilling and satisfying in the end. Although personally I was not involved in writing the study, I had the pleasure to present it. I helped my dear colleague and friend Ljubcho in the process of data gathering, data analysis, but actually it was him, Ioannis, and our good friend Alexandra Voudouri, a journalist from Greece, who actually wrote the piece. But I had the pleasure of presenting it on behalf of Eurothink. And in terms of doing big things and the importance of having publications like this, I think all of us who presented the study on that day were amazed from the importance. Believe it or not, although people working in think tank, in research, in academia believe that they're very important and their findings are really shaping the public discourse and that they're opinion makers or such, still we were really amazed in a positive manner to see almost the entire diplomatic corps in Skopje being there to listen to the findings. And this was really a sign that we have managed to do something which is new, fresh, tangible, and provides food for thought and discussion. But how did all this start? Before the joint project, there were initial contacts, cooperations, meetings, discussions, exchanges of opinions, ideas, and this is what matters. Even after the completion of the project, whenever ELIAMEP representatives are in Skopje, nevertheless, whether this means being here for writing a joint proposals or being here through a Horizon 2020 project or an Erasmus Plus project, whenever someone from ELIAMEP comes from Skopje, they always drop a line or call us. And we're very glad that it's like that. And we can sit together, have a coffee or have an ouzo or rakia, as Anelia mentioned in the beginning, and start discussing prospective ideas, future endeavors, analyzing the current situation, the state of the art. And this is the added value of these cooperations. These are the positive tones that need to be set in the public sphere. What are the positive takeaways from PRESPA? First of all, the then deblocking of the European integrations of North Macedonia, which unfortunately, as Yanis mentioned, they're blocked again. Now it's another dispute, is the bilateral dispute between North Macedonia and Bulgaria. And this is, I would say, a much deeper problem, an unforeseen problem, an underestimated problem, but it's much deeper than the one between North Macedonia and Greece, and it has the potential to be even bigger. I tend to remain optimistic that hopefully it's not going to halt the idea for integration of the region, but it's definitely a serious threat, and it might grow even more serious. But back to the brief. It enhanced the cooperation of the two countries, not just the civil society who cooperated even before the signing of the Prespa agreement, but the governmental cooperation and the even enhanced business cooperation and economic cooperation provides great benefits to the region, economically, culturally, socially, and this is very important. And even if we are, for example, tasked to write a new monitoring report in 6 months from now, probably we will say that not much progress is made, but this is on a formal level. Where are the joint commissions? What is the number of memoranda being signed? What are the concrete steps being taken? And this is not the end of the world, because we estimate in our analysis that the implementation of the Prespa agreement will take decades to be fully implemented. And probably it's going to be like that in practice. The added value is that people cooperate more, businesses cooperate more, their confidence building measures are here, and the de facto cooperation between the two societies has enhanced. And this is very, very important. In terms of sending positive messages to the youth, people, you are the future. I mean, it's up to you to what extent this cooperation will continue. These steps are very good. They may be small, but they're very good, very constructive. I would like to make a small switch to the potential threats and the potential negative aspects. As a person who also works with young people, I teach at a private university here in Skopje, so I have frequent contacts with younger people. What scares me is that, unfortunately, you who are here today with us are not the representative sample of today's youth in the Balkans. You're progressive, you're open-minded, you're thinkers, you're liberal, and this is not the golden standard for young people in the Balkans. I would say that a majority of young people still tend to be rather close-minded, relatively influenced by the expansion of nationalism and right-wing extremism, and this does not help. I'm going to give an example from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yanis, being a very good, being very familiar with the region, might even confirm this, but in a research I read, it was clearly spelled out, and it was more of an ethnographic research, saying the children of the participants in the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina hate themselves more than their parents who participated directly in the war in the early 90s and who managed to go through the process of reconciliation. And there are multiple structural factors for this. Dayton is probably factor number one, because today Srećko and Srđan and Haris do not talk to each other. They're isolated, cantonized, they don't want to know about each other. And this is what scares me. And I hope that this is going to change. And I don't want to have the same discussion in 10 years from now. I'm not sure whether this is going to happen, but I'm just trying to point to the threats, especially to you, to those who work more with youth and youth initiatives. Please bear in mind these threats, because they exist, they're a reality, and they need to be tackled, and tackled immediately. In terms of the way forward, more projects, more travels, more cooperations in academia. For example, just several months ago at one of my classes, I had a guest lecturer from Greece. His name is Dr. Kostas Stratilatis. He's a professor in human rights and international law. Maybe some of you know him. He gave a very open, a very sincere uh, view on how he sees the bilateral relations between North Macedonia and Greece. Then he also gave a set of other great guest lectures in other universities in Skopje and throughout the country. So this is the way forward. This is the only way forward. I'm going to stop here, and then I remain at your disposal to engage more in the Q&A session. Thanks again, once again, for the invitation.
Thank you, Ivan, very much. And now we will continue to Mr. Fatos Mustafa, the Deputy Secretary General of RICO, Regional Youth Office of Cooperation. So, Fatos, hello, and thank you for accepting once again an invitation from Youth Alliance and being speaker to one of our events. And I would like to ask you, since you are having much complex situation here, we are working on a bilateral level, and RICO is working with Western Balkan 6 countries, which is even more difficult according to my opinion. But according to you, and what is the role of the civil society organization? Because RICO involves a lot the civil society organizations, the youth organizations, and the educational institutions as well. So hello and welcome.
Thank you very much, Anelia. So actually, you just tackled one of my notes. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation to Youth Alliance, and also I very much congratulate on the initiative of having the cooperation office between both Greece, Hellenic, and North Macedonia in order to somehow use as a tool, as an instrument to bring young people together, not only the young people of the future of both countries, but also as a today, let's say, resources of the societies from both sides. Actually, the very good point starting with multilateralism. So our kind of like compare of Regional Youth Cooperation Office and the new initiative as a bilateral office. Actually, RICO, I guess most of you already know about the context when RICO was established and when RICO started working, which fortunately or unfortunately would say it was a bit different from what is today. Or at least how young people are perceiving the moments and the context. So it's a bit different. So when it comes to the contribution of the civil society, we all know that RICO is also as a derivative of the contribution of civil societies of Western Balkan 6 in the Berlin process, where with a strong, let's say, advocacy and contribution of the civil society in Berlin, but mostly with the summit in 2015 in Vienna, where they managed to bring into agenda of the high-level decision makers of the prime ministers the declaration for establishment of a mechanism which will deal with the reconciliation process in the youth field. And then only on 2016, with the next summit in Paris, it was able to sign the agreement of 6 Western Balkan 6 prime ministers to establish RICO, and have the, let's say, like the formal mechanism which will be contributing in the reconciliation process. The contribution of the civil society does not stop here. So maybe for your information, RICO, first of all, RICO has a unique mechanism of consensus-based, but within the mechanism of governing board as the highest decision-making process, we have, apart from 6 ministers, let's say, in charge for youth, we have also 6 young people. We call them as youth representatives from each contracting party, who have the equal say in the decision-making process, meaning that those people are contributing, let's say, on the decision-making process and the strategic direction of RICO. Plus, civil society contributes a lot when it comes to design our let's say, way forward in terms of designing, let's say, strategy and all the documents. So civil society's role is crucial, as RICO is a derivative of, let's say, Berlin process, and we all know that the civil society and civil society organizations have quite a say in the process itself, but not only that. So now the role of the civil society is crucial in any other process, not only in the reconciliation itself. Being multilateral, it requires really a lot of effort, especially when you have the consensual decision making. And you can imagine, who would imagine, let's say, 10 years ago, that the Western Balkans will take decisions on consensus and with of 6 contracting parties with the 12 people. Yes, it was in a way sometime, let's say, kind of like seen as a bureaucratic, but it was very much helpful because it was really a promoter of negotiations, a promoter of talks of people, among societies, in order to come out with a joint solution. Not all the solutions, not all the decisions are, let's say, much liked from everybody, but it is very much important that, at least in RICO, what we are trying to build as a spirit is to agree to disagree. Very well said by Yanis previously, and I think a couple of my notes are already kind of gone through from both Anelia and Yanis, that building trust is really something that requires more than just talking. It's something that, first of all, is very much necessary that you build the trust within the team. And this spirit and this synergy is transmitted also to those that you target to work with. So in this case, this kind of, let's say, multilateral action requires, first of all, that you build trust, you build the synergy, and if I can call it B and A, meaning that you somehow move from blame to action. So let's not just stay in a place and blame, but also let's move to an action. So within 6, let's say, contracting parties coming together, it requires much more efforts. It requires much more negotiations. It requires much more work, but then also the effect is multiplied. So it's, when the positive effect is there, so it's multiplied with 6. So it's also worth to invest in this direction as well. Yes.
Thank you, Fatas, a lot. So now I will proceed with my dear friend Anna, and I would like to announce you as my dear friend because everything that you're seeing now here, it's also Anna's contribution, even though she is at her home in Athens. In the past few months, we've built, first of all, friendship between each other, then trust between each other, and then we see as a professional relations within the whole initiative that we are working on. So Anna, before starting with you in the chat with the participants, there are a lot of tips and how we should do and how we should advocate for establishing this cooperation and connecting the young people, even though we are minorities, so they are proposing social media or other different platforms, or participating in events, seminars in field of trips, and some ways of influencing more young people to get to know each other and to get to know the cultural and everything. So this is, I think, also our vision. But I would say that there is no point of establishing Hellenic North Macedonia youth offices of cooperation if there is no young people on board. So for me, and I know that it's also for Anna, the most important thing are the actions where the young people are involved in the grassroots actions. So Anna will talk about what we have done in the past period and what is our hope and a pathway for the future.
So good evening, Anelia, dearest friend, of course, and good evening to all participants and our honored guest speakers. I'm very happy that you have already talked about common problems that, like Dr. Makola said before, it's a really very important issue to start with. So during the first panel of this very interesting event today, the representative of the Council of Europe, as well as my dear colleague Eglis Sakellari, underlined the role of civil society organizations in providing facts and data and creating channels of communication between young people of a certain interest and decision makers. So in this panel, we took a look deeper into this from an academic and researcher perspective. And we have to say that Cooperation for a Common Future as an initiative tackles the issue of bilateral cooperation and considers it as a twofold project. So it is a matter of structure and organization-based advocacy for young people in Greece and North Macedonia in front of key decision makers and stakeholders, of course. But there is also a need to make this cooperation legitimate among its very own subjects. I mean, young people, certainly, as Anelia said before. So at least in Greece, people of my age were raised with poor knowledge about their neighbors and about our common problems and concerns. Thus, the PRESPA agreement stimulated discussions on youth collaboration again, and we are very grateful about that. In this sense, we wanted to show to young people that our neighbors are approachable and there is space for everyone to contribute, especially now in the beginning of its implementation. So more or less, we needed a grassroots network within the initiative, consisted of young people who will exchange their views and participate in discussions in a friendly and supportive way, and who would also be able to spread the word of collaboration within their individual networks too. So with some valuable help provided by Dr. Makolas, I would like to thank publicly and personally for offering valuable guidance. We created a group of 9 people last November, consisted of students and graduates, mainly from the Department of Balkan Slavic and Oriental Studies of the University of Macedonia in Thessaloniki. And our main role is to promote and foster bilateral youth cooperation between Greece and North Macedonia at an individual level, which means among fellow students, co-workers, youth workers and friends, creating a big contact chain. So we are following so far an horizontal decision-making process within the group. We decide on topics that might be interesting for young people, such as education, youth participation, social issues like gender equality, let's say. And we organize small online events and discussions. During December only, we organized 3 online events, a storytelling evening with youth workers from Greece and North Macedonia who shared their experience and attitude on the other country, a short film night on gender roles, a displayed material that was provided by Balkans Beyond Borders organization. And actually we hosted and displayed 2 short movies, one from Greece and one from North Macedonia. And we discussed about the outcome that came from these films. And also an event on activism and advocacy of artists during the pandemic crisis. They informed us about problems that they faced during COVID-19 and what they do to support their interests. Well, specifically, they were attended by more than 80 people in total, and they were reached by many, many more in Facebook live streaming sessions. And the group also undertook a supporting role in promoting participation of fellow students and friends in the initiative's research on the opinion of young people in Greece and North Macedonia on youth mobility between the 2 countries, which will help us, we hope, in the future shape the role and the activities of the bilateral youth cooperation offices right after their establishment. So it is more than evident that in a short time period of 2 months, we managed to broaden the youth network of Cooperation for a Common Future in Greece among individuals, and they are getting increasingly interested in the group's activities. Now our ambition is that we will be able to bring in contact civil society organizations from both countries in the future in a healthy working environment. We will all be able to create, cooperate, and promote the interests of youth. And we also aim to host even more small-scale events ourselves. So we have already met recently volunteers from North Macedonia and Volunteers of Youth Alliance in cooperation with Anelia here. And we are already in discussions and brainstorming sessions about future ways to foster cooperation and approach young people. And well, in this sense, the pandemic crisis and the imposed condition of digital events maybe provided the fertile ground for low budget actions and to diminish the distance between us rather than expanding it, despite the struggle, of course, which is big. And all about the promotion process, we use mostly informal channels, mouth-to-mouth communication, but also formal channels like official media of cooperation. And this year is hopefully a year of major improvements. We aim to organize podcasts, prepare visual and written material, and we are willing also to build a more stable organizational structure and also to engage whoever is interested in our activities. So, and now I want to speak to all participants here today that we are very, very open and very interested in your ideas. You have just to send us a message on something that you think it is essential to be brought into discussion, and we will try to implement it and engage it in public dialogue. This is what we want to do. We want to meet even more of you, and we want to cooperate all together, even those that are skeptical about this, but open to debate, as Dr. Armakoula said before. And the more the people are aware of cooperation, the better we will be able to understand the common voice and their interests. So feel free, please, to connect with us. And for now, our first priority is to set the agenda for the upcoming months. So you will soon be notified on our short events. We also plan to visit North Macedonia as well and meet our friends when we'll be allowed to travel outside our region. And we count on physical events too in the future, in parallel, of course, with digital ones when the situation allows it. Your support, all of you, would make us even more enthusiastic and motivated. As we said in the beginning, civil society needs people in the first place. We can all be these people. We can act, we can collaborate, and we can overcome all dividing lines towards future cooperation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna, a lot. And I quite agree with everything that you have said. And here on the chat, there are a lot of comments, a lot of concerns how we can build this and how out of minority to become the majority of the people who truly believe in the youth cooperation on bilateral level. So I would like to now open the floor for Q&A, for question and answers. And I'm kindly asking you to raise your hand in order to ask your question or even to give one of the comments that you have raised in the chat. Anyone? Okay, since
there is somebody, raising their head. Vesna.
Okay, so we are moving to the Ohrid hub with Inclusia from Ohrid. So Vesna, please.
The microphone is off.
Yeah, the microphone. Okay.
Sorry for the little technical inconvenience. I hope that you can hear me.
Yes, we do.
Once again, thank you very much for inviting us to be part of this digital conference. As members of Inclusia and as part of this event, there is one question we were discussing here amongst us while listening to the discussions. Having in mind that the bigotry is still very present and the amount of hate is very big, having in mind the consequences from the past 30 years and the name issue disputes we had, I would like to ask how can we as NGO and as young people contribute to overcome this situation? What can we do in order to face with the past and to make further steps towards reconciliation in the future?
Thank you, Vesna. And you're referring the question to someone special, or you would like everyone to answer on your question?
Raiko.
Okay.
Note Raiko.
Fatos, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. So, I mean, this process is not, let's say, first of all, we have to agree that this is not one-night show. I know that we all know that, and it's somehow the current or existing mood of all those that have been already said, have been built, unfortunately, or have been installed, unfortunately, for such a long time. So it takes also time to also deal with this, handle with this situation. I mean, there is no, let's say, a magic stick of how to do that, because there are two possible scenarios. One can be bottom up, the other one can be top down approach of how to handle with this situation. But when it comes to this, I think as no any government on its own can do that much or necessary enough to change that in the terrain. The role of the civil society is very much important, especially when it comes to the community level. And I think all those organizations that are acting in various areas, in various municipalities, are very much important that they do their own part in order to contribute to the install of what has been installed for a long time. And plus, in each of the, let's say, in each of the societies, there are also many kind of, let's say, umbrella organizations which somehow should be used as an instrument, as a formal instrument, as a tool to also make coherence of actions at the national level and the widely, in order to help communities to improve, let's say, their way of recognition of others within the society, but also of other societies. We usually, at least in Western Balkans, we tend to societies tended to somehow put aside the other part, and then everything is right and fine as we tend to see things. But I think it is very much important that all of us do, first of all, acknowledge and recognize the other side, the other part of the other person, the other community, the other society. And then we also very much try to understand also the other side standing, because usually we try to set the right direction, the right approach is the one that I am telling. But usually we also try to somehow close ourselves towards the other's story. And at least from the perspective of reconciliation, is very much important that people are well acknowledged and well heard, and the stories are told them, so not only told them for the sake of saying them, but for the sake of hearing and reading the truth behind. And then only after we hear and understand the other side, then we can talk about like destroying or taking out the hatred. The hatred comes as a result, as a derivative of closing ourselves, of listening to the other side's story. And I think our region should really be open to listen, and also like these diversity of societies or ethnicities within the region should have been promoted as a treasure, as a wealth of the region, and not as something that is seen as a negative, let's say, negative thing within the region.
Thank you. So next we have Zaferia Kiratsopoulou. I hope that I pronounce it well.
Yeah, almost. Thank you.
So you can say your name.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you all. It was an excellent experience this far. I have a question that could be more described as a concern of mine. It's actually closely related to the previous question. Until now, we discussed about keeping close ties between the two countries, getting well acquainted with each other's culture and forming strong relations. But that requires people who are already open to this. What about those who are still against all of this act? In my experience here in Greece, there are people who are narrow-minded, and about the subject, they're kind of reinforced by the media or some political parties, especially after the Prespa agreement, even though most of them have no idea about what the agreement involves and how it differentiates North Macedonia from Macedonia and Greece in various aspects. So how do you suggest we educate and inform those people to overcome those narrow-minded opinions and actually focus on building bridges between the two countries?
Okay, thank you, Zafiria. Veli here, he wants to respond on your question.
Yeah, this is an excellent question in terms of, again, how to move forward when we are under the current state of affairs. So my reading of this is just, basically the change is incremental and it will take time. But I'll borrow, a thesis from criminology, which says basically the power of neighborhood contacts deter the crime. So in a way, we need to create a neighborhood with high-level positive contacts, which will have an indirect effect for a change. So what we are missing today in a modern society, once I think it was mentioned by, I think it was by Obama, it's an empathy deficit. We are not able to make an empathy with the other side. And that is the missing link here. So there is no way, and this is actually, I was also wanted to refer to the previous question to some extent. The social network that we are just going to create by people to people, person to person, that will have what is called in economy externalities. Externalities, some people who have no experience of a positive contact will be somehow limited in terms of keeping up with the prejudices. So the way we get rid of the prejudices is just we have to create this neighborhood environment which will have an impact on each person, even who have no experience at all, who does not have any friend from Bitola or from Skopje, and they have no idea. But they will try to listen time to time from people who are talking about these positive experiences. So one way is increase these high-level positive examples, make it more actual and make it more a priority and to talk about. And then, of course, try to fill up this empathy gap. That is the empathy deficit that is happening in modern societies in every place. So two ways to go. One, again, I'm going to borrow from a well-known scholar who said you can either hunker down, which is pull yourself away in your environment, And that is from, as you all know, from Putnam, which is you're not interested about the others. You're not doing an empathy. You're hunkering down. You pull it away as a turtle, so like a turtle, and you're safe. But the other way is just make a small step. These things will come as an acceleration of as a cumulative of small steps. Don't expect to change your neighborhood in a one day or a night. It has to be multiply this with the small steps. Like as we are talking here, I was able to see, you know, and listen many interesting experiences. That basically is just this is just happening, and this cannot be stopped. But it will just take time. It will just take time, and there will be always opposition to this. And there is no problem with having an opposition as long as we are equal in terms of discussion, in terms of making our arguments, and we are free in making the arguments. So the opposition is perfectly fine. In a democratic society, we need to have an opposition. And we already said that we can agree to disagree. But as long as we can do this in a very democratic environment and not missing the point of making an empathy, because we don't know what people have experienced before. So don't not try to basically rewrite the history. Just try to write a history and make a future. So this is my point.
Thank you, Dr.
Elias,
Armacolas.
Yes.
Yes, this was also my thought.
Well, two ideas and a bit of perspective. To begin with, you will find the ideas, and your ideas will be better than any idea that Veli and I and other people of our generation may have, because yours will be the ideas that will speak to your generation. But maybe two ideas I can think of. First, I mentioned already, what are the issues that are common problems to you, to both sides, to young people for both sides, and are not touching issues of identity or of politics? Is it environmental degradation? Is it green problems? Is it unemployment? Is it technology, corruption, lack of meritocracy? You name it. You will find what are the common problems. The European Union is discussing these days, will be discussing in the context of the Conference for Europe, the future of Europe, the future of the EU in the next 30, 40, 50 years. Well, the Balkans should have a voice, and the Balkans should have, young people from the Balkans should have an agenda and should have arguments about the future of Europe and ideas that will come from the region. And second point, maybe if you want to touch upon the more sensitive issues, why don't you start by finding what others did in that direction? How did others do it? Mm-hmm. France, Germany, Germany, Poland, Ireland, UK, I don't know, whatever, Spain. It's not unique in the Balkans that we have disputes. In fact, I could be provocative. The problems that we are facing in the Balkans, with some exceptions, are not so huge and so bloody and so traumatic as they have been in other places. Of course, there are traumatic situations. If you're a young kid in Srebrenica, and you have to go to a school that you're taught a history that the killers of your father or of your grandfather are heroes, it's difficult. Or if you have to be in a neighborhood with the people that you know probably killed your parents. Mm-hmm. This is difficult. That not every dispute and every problem in the Balkans is so traumatic like in Srebrenica or in Kosovo. We didn't fight a war between Greece and North Macedonia. Really. There's no such a bloody history involved. A few years ago, in the context of a research project on memory of war, we visited with other colleagues battlefields in France. If anyone from the Balkans would go to one of those battlefields and realize the extent of trauma and blood that has been shed between France and Germany, they would immediately stop all the arguing and bickering in the Balkans because our problems seem so little. Only in Verdun, a place that we visited, a few years ago in the context of that project, in a place that these days is a forest with villages and everything. 80 years, well, more than 80 years ago, 100 years ago, it was for many kilometers just flat. There was nothing. And in France, this area is called the villages that died for France. Dozens of villages that were wiped out from artillery. And only in the Battle of Verdun, 150,000 young people like you here died, and 250,000 people became crippled. They lost legs and limbs and everything. 400,000 people only in one small place in France. Okay? The same happened in the Second World War. And there were many Verduns in all this, in Western Europe. 20, 30 years later, France and Germany were best friends driving European integration. We cannot imagine Europe without French and German reconciliation. So if they did it, the Balkans should be easier, I would say. It just needs ideas, courage, political leadership. But if political leadership is not there, maybe civil society can play a role. It's not so major. It's the hatred that we have is not so big. The blood that has been spilled is not so massive as we think compared to other conflicts. We can find a way to resolve our problems, and we don't need to agree on everything.
Thank you, Dr. Armakoulas. This specific exact comment was also posted in the chat. So also the young people were asking if the Germans and French did, why we can't do it. So in terms of time, we will extend a bit the session for 15 minutes, and I would kindly ask you for your patience, but there is a lot of interest. So we have 4 more questions, and I will give the floor to the first Marie and Dimitra who are wanting to ask the question. Then we will go to answers, and then we will go back to Murtazeni and Egli. So Marie?
Hello, everyone.
Dimitra Marie, hand was first raised, therefore.
Dimitra, can I go? Is it okay with you? Okay. So hello to everyone, and it's indeed a pleasure to be here and to be among friends. I want to express my thoughts, given that I've been closely, following almost 10 years now, all this process and the establishment of this idea. And I just want to pick up on some questions, like how do we make people want to focus on this cooperation? This is a question from the chat. Or what the Inclusia representative said, how do we help this process? How can we concretely support the dialogue and all that? So I would say that we need to start with very simple steps, such as talking about it. It's still very much a taboo, to talk about the cooperation between the two countries. It's very much a taboo to name each other. And I know that maybe, let's say, avoiding talking about name, identity, culture, history, and all that, maybe, let's say, somehow a solution, a superficial solution. But in the end, especially young people, they want to discuss. They want to learn each other. Because imagine, how can you actually build trust if you cannot even name the other person? What I see, following this youth exchanges, these seminars that take place between the two people for the last 10 years, since 2010, concretely, is that first of all, people are very skeptical with regards to how to name each other, how not to, let's say, offend or hurt. But at the same time, if I say that, will I be politically correct? Will I be correct towards my country? I know that many people opt for not naming country, not naming, let's say, ethnicity and all that. And maybe, yes, maybe this is an idea. But what I would say is, and I'm addressing this to all the young people, especially who are in the audience. When you leave this conference, what are you going to do? Are you going to talk about it? And then what exactly are you going to say? I realize that sometimes we visit Skopje. I mean, we've been invited by Anneli and Bilyan and told us so many times. And then when we go back, sometimes we are resistant to post photos. We are resistant to talk about it. but change will start if you actually start naming things and saying that, yes, I was there. I was in North Macedonia. I participate in this. There is this youth initiative. It's called BICO. So start by naming things. Because as Matarasso said, change will not start from a panel. In this conference, we all know that all of us, we are believers in this idea. We are people who strongly support this idea. And as one of the speakers said, yes, we cannot, let's say, somehow oblige anyone who doesn't want to engage
sorry
into the
for interrupting you. Sorry for interrupting you, but due to the time rushing, I would like to give the floor to the young people.
I put the full stop here.
Okay, Dimitra, please.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm quite glad to have visited your country, North Macedonia, before the pandemic. And secondly, I would like to ask a question, not only to the invited speakers, but to all of the people who attend this meeting right now. Bearing in mind our current circumstances, economical, political, or even social, are we really optimistic about the future of relations between two nations? That was my question.
You would like? Okay, please.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, Dimitra, we are working on it. So we are building step by step. So, yeah, I mean, it's not about being optimistic or pessimistic. It's about how you basically how much do you really are eager to help in this direction? How much as a civil society organization, even as a person, I mean, how much do you really contribute in building this relation, and how important is for you in your life? So that's a kind of a rather than making a political prognosis, and you know, but it's more like how much do you really contribute toward this, you know, toward this aim. So that will be my short answer.
Thank you. Now we are moving forward to our next question. So is Murtazeni, which are the guys from the hub in Loja Tetava.
So hello to everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Actually, we are from Loja's hub, the Tovo team, and thanks to you, thanks to the speakers, that we are part of this conference. Actually, I wanted to make two questions. One of them is what kind of measures should we undertake so we can break this kind of stereotypes between two countries? And as NGOs, how should we cooperate with Greece so we can break these stereotypes? Another thing that is important is that the opposition in our country, I think that somehow they don't support this agreement that was made between North Macedonia and Greece. How should we reflect and how should we raise awareness to our citizens so we can move forward and we can form a bridge that we can cooperate between the youth of North Macedonia and Greece?
Thank you. Now we will move forward to our last question for the participants. So Egli, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Well, I have a question to the speakers that might be a bit far-fetched, or it surely concerns a sensitive issue, as Professor Armakoulas earlier said. It is just a hypothetical question, and I was wondering if, in the spirit of solidarity, stability, and of course following the EU integration path, could we become an example to the current dispute between North Macedonia and Bulgaria? And is it too soon to speak for a trilateral cooperation in the spirit of good neighborliness, and given the fact that, from my personal experience, we had to dodge misinformation, hatred, or nationalistic approaches that made it difficult for us to become aware of what is happening to the name dispute really between Greece and North Macedonia. So can we provide assistance and guidance in what extent, if we could?
Thank you, Igli.
Maybe Ivan?
Ivan, maybe you would like to answer the question to Egli, and then the others can answer the other question.
Definitely. Thanks a lot for this question. No, not just that it's not early to speak about trilateral cooperation, but we even try to plant some seeds here and there within the donor community to basically check for the possibilities of them to fund trilateral projects and to see whether it is possible to unfold the dynamics behind well, unfortunately North Macedonia is the one being in the center of this triangle, basically it having bilateral issues with both Greece and Bulgaria, although in the past Greece and Bulgaria have had their and still have their differences on certain issues. Still, I believe that it is the right time to launch these initiatives and to try to make the best out of it and to send positive vibes and positive messages in regards to further cooperation. The main problem here is that unfortunately, for the time being, civil society will be the driver of the process. Civil society is going to have the front seat. And this is very good for us as civil society and academia representatives, but it's not that good for the process. Because political processes need to be driven primarily by politicians. Citizens should participate. I'm talking about participative political culture and everything, but key confidence building measures need to be put forward by politicians. The moves that Zaev and Tsipras did, they were the game changer. Previously, the signing of the agreement of good neighborly relations between North Macedonia and Bulgaria, when Zaev and Borisov signed the agreement, that was the game changer. That's what immediately enhanced economic cooperation, better media representation of the immediate neighbor. This is when the relationships relaxed and tensions were toned down. Unfortunately, key steps and big changes are made by politicians within the political system, and this is a reality. But this does not mean that we as civil society should remain outside. We need to push for more initiatives, for more cooperation, but we should not be disenchanted if we fail to achieve our immediate goals, because everything takes time. And we don't have neither the power nor the resources to make changes that politicians and governments can make. And we have to be aware of this in order not to have immense great expectations that will later lead to great disappointments.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Ivan. Fato Sarmakola, Dr. Sarmakola Sana, has anyone wants to answer on the Loya group team? Please.
No, I would like to give the floor to Anna first, and then since she's the youngest in the group, and then we can continue.
Just a small comment on all the comments and questions that we had before about stereotypic thought and about optimism and about negative attitude towards cooperation. From my personal experience, I got really surprised by how people are not really interested so much on that. It's not that they're negative, it's not that they don't know. I mean, it's not, and of course, Greece is not only its northern part, I mean, Thessaloniki and, northern towns, but it's also southern part that really was not that much concerned and that well informed regarding cooperation. My own point of view is that we should act normally, like it never happened. I mean, every time I speak about North Macedonia, some people might be like, okay, what do you mean? What are you doing? And I just explain what I'm doing and they're fine with that. They don't really have a negative stereotypic thinking. They just don't know. And if they see other people that are really not, how to say, negative about cooperating, they're open to cooperation as well. So in this sense, I'm very optimistic, yes. I think that it will get better and better. It has become already better. I mean, last year we attended all, with Mary as well, a cultural event in Skopje, as an initial part of this initiative. And I think that since then, lots of improvement has been made. And in my opinion, it will get, as I said, better. So act normally like it never happened. And it is going to be good.
Thank you, Anna. Dr. Armankoulas?
Yeah, I think excellent point from Anna. Very often it's not hatred or any of that negative feelings that we think. It's rather lack of knowledge. They don't know. Once they get to know, yeah, just act as if it's Germany or France or Spain. 20 years ago, I moved to Bosnia. I lived in Bosnia for 3 years. You won't believe what people think, that I'm in the middle of an African conflict, that I'm going to be killed and everything. I mean, you know, it's for people unfamiliar things, produce kind of negative emotions. And for Greeks, unfortunately, the Balkans are unfamiliar. It's difficult to explain to someone from North Macedonia because you have your so-called Yugosphere. You visit whatever, Serbia, Kosovo. You listen to the music. Your parents have been all over this region. For Greeks, with the exception of the people near the border in northern Greece, in Western Macedonia, in Greece, you know, it's an unfamiliar place. I mean, except the people near the border, I mean, the Balkans is totally unknown. I mean, they have never been. They don't know what this place is. They think it's some alien place. They don't see a reason to visit or to have any connection with that region. So it's fine. It's good that young people like Anna and others have passed this. That they don't have these kind of stereotypes. I will, if I may, for 1 minute, go on along the lines that Ivan mentioned earlier. To answer to Erli, I was also thinking 3 years ago or 2 years ago that that we would have a trilateral driver of European integration, driver of change in the region: Greece, Bulgaria, North Macedonia. I remember with the predecessor of Ivan, Lyubcho Petkovsky, we were pitching projects, trilateral projects, and everybody thought, well, that it's not necessary because the problem are resolved now, you know. So, well, guess what? The problem is not resolved. But never mind. I mean, we will find a way. I hope the problem, the obstacle with Bulgaria is temporary. I really hope so. And on Greece, I mean, I cannot speak for the Greek diplomacy. I would think that Greek diplomacy could do something about the problem. But at the level of civil society, we could speak about the way the arch enemies of the region, Greeks, Bulgarians, after many, many decades and many wars, these days do not hate each other. And this could be a positive example also for Greece, North Macedonia, Bulgaria. Because we didn't fight wars with Macedonians or Albanians, but we did fight wars with Bulgarians. And these days, I mean, I don't think we have any serious problems in our relationships. Admittedly, it was top-down reconciliation, and at the level of civil society, relations are not so close. But this can happen in the future, and as part of the European integration. So yes, it could be in the future. Hopefully, it will be a trilateral, and the civil society even will be the driver of the process. It's fine. This is the Balkans, and we don't have the best politicians in the world. And the civil society will show the path, and I think the policy will follow, I think.
Thank you. And we are moving forward to, let's say, to the closure of the session, and I will give a final word to every one of you. But before I ask the question to all of you as a final word, and you can also add whatever you consider it's relevant for ending the panel, I would like to thank to the whole team that is supporting me and Nana. So it's not only me and Nana, but we have a huge team on 17 people from both countries. So we have Nikos and Alex from Greece, Ioanna from Greece, Angeliki from Greece, Egli from Greece, Stella from Greece, and Penelope from Greece as well. Then we have Jovica from North Macedonia, Nina from North Macedonia, Janica from North Macedonia, Vladimir from North Macedonia, Dimitar from North Macedonia, and Donna from North Macedonia. But we are very much ready and enthusiastic to widen up our group and to involve all of you who are interested in cooperation and you want to be part of this grassroots initiative. As I said in the beginning, the Hellenic North Macedonia Youth Cooperation offices, they cannot be established without you, without your support, and that's how we will, let's say, lobby to the governmental institution. And as a final remark, I would like to listen from us how you can support the process individually or as a relevant institution that you are representing today. So Fatos, you can start.
Yeah. Fatos is the most relevant.
Thank you very much. And I know like this topic is really huge, and when I hear questions, you know, like it's very much provoking on this. I mean, changing the existing situation, there is one, I think, very well said by Ivan when he mentioned the signing of the agreement between Tsipras and Zaev is moving from one so-called, if we can call it as a comfort zone, or created the comfort zone that people somehow entered into their zones and very much closed for years and years and years to open towards others. And I think this is not only for let's say in the case of North Macedonia and Greece, but this is it applies to all the countries in the region that we have to, and societies in the region that we have to really like move out of the comfort zone. Signing a paper is one thing, but implementing it is like really huge, tremendous work and efforts that requires behind. So we should not be we should be, of course, celebrate and be happy with the signing of the papers, but we have to be very much focused on how to sign our will to implement this paper. It's very much focusing on the will of people and will of the societies in signing their future. So, and any single change, it was also asked, I think, by a lady from sorry for the lack with the names, from Greece, asking like how we can change this kind of stuff. This cannot be changed by only neither government itself, civil society itself, media itself, education system itself. So it requires a very systematic approach, as for some time, unfortunately, systematic approach was to create this prejudice, but also it requires a systematic approach also to demolish this prejudice. And it starts from me, it starts from my family, it starts from my community, and then it starts from my society, it starts from my country, from my region, from my whomever. So we should start and be critical, starting from ourselves. Mary mentioned very well, like sometimes we are afraid of of saying things. No, we shouldn't be afraid of saying what needs to be said, and we really should focus on that. I would kindly ask anyone. Yanis mentioned very well that in Greece, let's say Western Balkans, this upper part of our region is somehow like very unknown region and not unknown, let's say it's an alien. Well said. I don't remember I met lots of Greek people in apart from Thessaloniki and those in which are in close to the borders. I know only one person I met from Crete, whom I met in Serbia in some exchange program, and all of the others were from Thessaloniki or Thessaloniki region, let's say, this border part. So I would kindly ask not only Greek people, but all the people in the region to really walk, visit, meet in order to tell the stories. Please don't accept to be told them with the stories. If you do accept being told them with the stories, we will remain in the very same position. No, I don't want to be told them with the stories. In my last 20 years of being either leading or benefiting from various exchange programs, believe me, it's not something that I want just to tell here for the sake of pleasing people. Not at all. I absolutely, from Greece, from any other country within the region, I absolutely found much more things in common than things that we might consider as indifference. Believe me, in many things, in naming, in language, in food, in attitude, in many other things, there are much more things that we have in common than we are different. Why we are always focusing in those minor things that might make us differ, and plus, instead of even considering them, that it's enriching the mosaic of our region with having things also in difference. We are considering them as bringing us to really totally different, like one coming from Mars, the other one coming from Earth, and the other one coming from Moon. No, we are all here. Even sometimes a very small lake is bringing us together. It's split in three countries. Let's use this as an opportunity of sitting together and making policies together instead of really putting walls and building walls of China walls in such a small region.
Thank you. Ivan?
Thanks a lot. I will be very short and just address all of you in the on the smaller screens to the right. Just keep up the good work. Travel, participate, communicate, contribute, and basically enhance the similarities that Fatos mentioned, but also build on the differences. That's all from my side as a closure.
Thank you. Dr. Armacolas?
I think everything that has been said by Fatos, Ivan, Anna could be perfect ending. I agree with Fatos very much, and Ivan, please visit the region, talk to the region, see the places, meet people, communicate. Fatos is very right. Our differences are not big. I think I tried to communicate this earlier. There is this concept in psychology, the narcissism of minor differences. The hatred or nationalism is so sticking in the Balkans also because we are much closer culturally, historically, among each other than we think. Our differences in the Balkans are much smaller than the differences that divide other nations in Western Europe that manage to somehow to find common language and progress. I mean, we're talking about peaceful Nordic people or Scandinavian people. Please, when we finish this, go back on the internet and check the bloody history of Scandinavian countries. You won't believe it. And nowadays they are global pioneers in peace. Okay? So narcissism of minor differences, and we are very similar. That's why these are sticking. But also I will final word. I agree totally with everything that has been said, but I don't want also to communicate that we are different, some exotic region that is different from the rest of Europe. We are similar, but we are also part of Europe. The entire Balkans, including North Macedonia and the rest of the Western Balkan countries, all 6 Western Balkan countries are part of Europe, and we are all part of uniting Europe. And we should be driving European integration in the future from our little corner in the Balkans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And instead of another closure from the youth perspective from the Greek side, we'll give Angeliki. Angeliki, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, what I wanted to say is not a question, but something as a remark, let's say. I was asking myself a lot of times what Zafiria previously asked, how to make someone listen when he doesn't want to listen. What can I do? How do you find common ground when there isn't any ground? I mean, and people listen when they're ready for it. Well, what I believe is that you don't have to force somebody to understand, because I have many times engaged in conversations and tried to make someone understand, and it is rather disappointing sometimes. So people do it constantly. So when they will start asking me maybe from now, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why I'm engaging with North Macedonian? Why do I do this? Maybe I'll start answering because they're cool. North Macedonians are cool. So that will be my answer from now on.
Super. Yes, we are cool, and you are even cooler than us. This has been shown during the discussion, because not many Macedonian people joined the discussion. So for tomorrow on, you should try to compete who is cooler. It's just a friendly joke. So Veli, how you can support the whole process, individually or from Analytica?
Well, I think I'll also be very short and brief. Yeah, first of all, let's identify where the problem is. The problem is the negative attitudes toward each other. So basically, take a first step and contact. Try to get to know each other, communicate, and then create this, what I call the social networks that will reduce the prejudices. Once the prejudices are reduced, then you can start to build on the tolerant norms. So we need to build on these values so that we start to understand each other, and we start to fill this gap of empathy deficit. We need to understand people's perspective, why they are acting the way they are acting. It could be weird to us, because if somebody asks you, why do you guys communicate with the Greek people? What is into it? Well, because I like to know what is happening on the other side. I'm interested. I'm curious. So I cannot think of a young people who is not curious about the other side. I mean, I'm with the students all the time, and the whole idea of learning is the curiosity. If you don't have the curiosity, and then basically there is nothing, there won't be a progress. So let's just start on this side, which is the initiate the contact, reduce the prejudices, and start to build these tolerant norms of understanding each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank all the speakers for being today with us, but especially you for contributing to the panel. And there is one very nice comment towards me, towards my joke, and it says, never competition, always mutual improvement. And I would like to finalize the panel with this note, and see you tomorrow at 10:30 Macedonian time, 11:30 Greek time, and we are moving towards more thematic topics. So tomorrow we will talk about education and cross-border educational opportunities. So I think it will be quite interesting because the majority of the participants are students themselves. Thank you very much and enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.